Last time on A Soldier's Life, Lorene enters Eric's dreamscape. Eric gets pissed, but it's hard to tell what he's most pissed about. Her entering him or a dragon rider entering her. Eric gets his toothpaste that he shares with Mavieth. Very cute. Veronica's mom and brother is visiting, so Eric has to sleep in the Alchemist Tower. Constantine comes back, finally, but he is not looking good. Dragon attack? Question mark. I think so. And we will see. I hope it's dragons. I want to see dragons. Chapter 1111. The Summoner. Constantine's body was a mess as we brought it into the barracks. The company huddled around as he was placed on a table and his body stripped. The smell of burnt flesh and charred leather was strong among the stink of days in the woods. His leather bracers had bite marks on them, and when removed, bloody, partially scabbed over puncture marks were underneath. Okay, so he's maybe not a dragon then. I don't think a dragon bit his arm and he still has his arm and it's just like tiny, tiny marks. I doubt. That sounds more like a wolf or something. But he is burnt. So, fire wolf? Lurkin checked the forearm. Bone is broken. Get a healer in the city if someone has not been sent already. Felix immediately took off at a run, his footfalls echoing on the stone. Constantine groaned, and Lurkin whispered to him, "You got back, you tough bastard. We will heal you in a day, and you can return to being your old, cantankerous self." Constantine's dry throat tried to speak. Lurkin leaned down and put his ear to the man to hear. Lurkin stood after listening and informed us what he said. He found the summoner. It set a pair of hellhounds on him. Oh, so I was technically right! Fire wolves! What? I was like, well, that's not going to be the case. I was correct. A lot of whispers rang through the men, as no one seemed to know what a hellhound was. Castile walked purposely in at this moment, with Adrian behind her. She answered the question I had. A hellhound is an infernal dog, not from this plane of existence. It is a summoned creature that is a relentless tracker. Constantine, Castile stood over Constantine, taking in his abused body and getting his attention. Are the hounds that pursued you dead? Constantine painfully nodded his head in the affirmative. Castile nodded. And the summoner? Is he dead too? Constantine shook his head negatively, not being able to speak loudly. Castile grimaced. She put his hand on his shoulder. Everyone, get some rest. I will wait with Constantine for the healer and potions. Adrian shuffled everyone away. As I walked away, I felt guilty for not going with Constantine on his scouting mission. Maybe he would not be in such terrible shape if I had accompanied him. It's insane, though, that he killed hellhounds. He does have an enchanted sword or whatever, but that sounds extremely hard to do. I returned to the tower with Flavius and Mavieth. Flavius talked as we went. Summoners and hellhounds. Bad omens. I guess we will be marching soon and hunting the summoner. Best to get some rest. When we got to our tower floor, the empty bed we had brought up here for Constantine was apparently going to be filled soon. I lay down in my bed, and my mind flashed to Constantine. I recalled his return. He was in terrible shape, but he also did not have his pack or his weapons. His artifice sword was missing, and I imagined it was out there somewhere, stuck inside some fiery beast. I did not use the amulet as I settled down tonight, but did take an oblivion pill to stave off nightmares I knew would haunt me. If I didn't, I would imagine myself looking just like Constantine. I was awakened in the morning by a familiar hoarse voice. Eric, you can sleep through anything. Get up. It is time for breakfast and some training. Constantine's voice was raspy, but it was definitely him. Love you too, Constantine. Glad you're not dead. Or perhaps you are a revenant back from the dead to hound me, I said, smirking at my joke. Maybe it laughed in his deep voice. Maybe it is the best hype man. That is a good twisting of the words, Eric. Hound because a hellhound almost killed him. Oh. I opened my eyes to see Constantine standing over me, grinning. His face was gaunt and his eyes sunken. You look like an ogre just shit you out. His grin faded. I am still fit enough to teach you a thing or two in the practice yard, he rasped out with his dry voice. With what? I didn't see your magic blade on you yesterday, I said, and immediately regretted it. Constantine's face fell in some remembered pain, and maybe it was too soon to be needling him. He finally said, I preferred my life over the blade. Still, might be able to reclaim it if Castile marches us to hunt the summoner. Flavius was already dressed in his armor and at the table in the room. So you found the elven summoner, Traeliorn Kelran. Constantine moved to sit across from him. No, I don't think so. The elf with the hellhounds appeared too young. Flavius was about to interject, but Constantine stopped him. I know elves age really slowly. This one was young. He was no ancient and powerful sorcerer. Flavius grunted in acceptance of his words. I sat up in bed and looked out the window, and the sun was just turning the sky. I sighed and started dressing. I looked at Constantine. I can't believe they healed you up, and you are all ready to go again. The summoner is a real threat, Eric. Castile was doing a message sending to the Legatus Legonis office this morning. Most likely they will order us after him, Constantine said seriously. Flavius nodded at the table in agreement. So, we need to get ready to fight more hellhounds. Is that how you were burned? I inquired as I put on my armor. No, I fell into fire. Yes, of course. Constantine rubbed the side of his face, which had pink new skin. Don't know about more hellhounds. He held up his arm, and a memory of pain flashed in his face. Yes, one grabbed my arm, and the other breathed fire on me. If I hadn't been able to dose myself in a nearby pond, I would be dead. Maybe it boomed from across the room, interested in the story. How did you escape? Constantine shifted in the seat at the table. I was looking at the summoner from a good mile away. He was setting up a ritual circle. I was deciding whether to try and sneak close and get him with my bow when the two hounds I didn't see caught my scent from a cursed mile away. Constantine exhaled angrily. I dropped from the tree and ran. They caught me in no time, even though I was dropping myconid spores. One grabbed my arm while the other breathed its fire on me. Drove my sword into the mouth of a breather. Had to let go due to the heat. The one biting my arm tried to go for my throat. He looked around at us. I was half on fire at this point, and the dog I was wrestling was unscathed. It was a struggle, but I got a dagger in its neck and forced myself into a pond to cool off. He chuckled dryly. Then you dragged yourself back here, Mavius said in awe. No, didn't quite kill the second. Swam across the pond and it stalked me, but it was bleeding out. Giant leeches in the pond forced me out. I was at a disadvantage without my bow or sword, but the hellhound didn't attack. I forced myself to run and figured the beast was smart as it tried to exhaust me. I hoped it would bleed out from the wound on its neck. Eventually, I won the contest of wills. Constantine did not sound smug, just exhausted at the retelling. We should get down to breakfast, or Benito and Blaze will eat all the butter honey buns left over from the Duchess' dinner, Flavius noted. The four of us made our way to the barracks. I was half expecting to see the Countess's soldiers in here with us, but it was just our company. As Flavius had predicted, Benito had a plate stacked 3 high with dessert buns. Blaze next to him had the same. Everyone came up to Constantine and said they were glad he was already on his feet. Linus brought him 2 plates stacked with food. Constantine, no complaints. I want you to finish both plates before leaving the hall. You had a lot of healing done last night from the healer and potions. Where is my plate? I asked with a smirk at Linus. Next time you drag yourself in here half burned with a dozen broken bones, I will get your food for you too. Linus returned with a mock challenge. I hope that day never comes, I said, headed to the buffet table with Mavieth. Mavieth just took one of the serving trays from under the food as his plate, grinning while he did. From the look of it, the spread was mostly leftovers from last night's dinner in the Citadel, but no one seemed to mind. The Duchess still wanted to impress her mother, even if she did not want her here. While we were stuffing our faces, Castile entered on her heels. Castile entered. On her heels was Delmar and Adrian. She looked around the room, and her face was stern and not happy. Adrian walked over to Flavius, and I heard them say, after Castile finishes, head out and get the 4 men guarding the crew laying the province border stones. Flavius nodded sharply at the order. Castile addressed everyone present. I sent Constantine's report to the Legatus Legonis. He has ordered us to locate the Barbaradian summoner and end him. Master Mage Sebastian and 2 of his legionnaires will join us in 3 days on Drakes. Oh, well, so we will see Drakes. But fucking Sebastian, dude. The company stirred a little at the announcement. We will also be joined by High Mage Cinna. But she will bring no legionnaires. Cinna? Wait, was she one of the one that Reyna had? If her name is Reyna. The mage girl. Because I feel like I remember saying this name before. I think this is one of the elemental... Is it the fire one? No. Maybe this was the nice one by the ocean. I don't remember. But she will bring no legionnaires. Sebastian will transport High Mage Cinna, and they will find us in the wilds. No hounds will be coming to help search for him. Flavius's eyes had snapped to Castile on Sebastian's name. I couldn't see his face to read his reaction to seeing Sebastian again. Castile continued as our company started whispering louder. We will leave after the midday meal. Delmar will get a loadout for your packs prepared. The summoner was last spotted 50 miles northwest of here. Is this normal? I asked Constantine, who was working on his second plate and apparently already aware of what Castile was going to say. Hunting an enemy mage within the Empire borders? He asked with a cocked eyebrow, trying to act like I asked a stupid question. Flavius answered my question directly. Usually, it would be 3 full mage companies hunting an enemy mage with 2 or 3 packs of hounds in support to track the mage. High Mage Cinna is a powerful battle fire mage. I was correct that it was fire, but she used to teach at the mage college. I was not aware she could be called on for a hunt like this. Constantine added what he knew while shoveling food in his mouth. The hounds already lost a squad searching for the summoner. I'm not surprised Cornelius is not sending help. He would only have 5 full packs left in all the Eastern Empire if my math is correct, and I am sure he is being kept busy around Macha, countering the Barbaradian Rangers. Flavius exclaimed, Just 5? There should be 10 in the East. Constantine shrugged. I talked to him after Macha. He lost 2 squads chasing down a rogue mage commander before Macha. 1 squad retired a few months back, and another is not available. He has 20 men in training. He gave me a sidelong glance. But none are ready to put into the field. Flavius relaxed some at the explanation. It is one of the most dangerous jobs in the Empire. Constantine just nodded but did not tell him he used to be a hound. But just 5 squads left. Flavius shook his head in disbelief and left. He had to make a long trek to get our men out supervising the digging of holes. I thought everyone knew that Constantine used to be a hound. Maybe it's just Eric and Castile then. Or maybe because Flavius is technically... Because Flavius and Brutus are the ones that are not from their company originally, so maybe it's just Flavius that hasn't been caught up to speed, maybe? Or maybe it is just Eric and Castile. I went to the tower with Maviet, while Constantine was forced to stay behind and eat the rest of his food. I packed quietly. I packed quickly, thinking we were going to be gone for a while. Mavieth just watched me, and I tightly rolled one of the weasel pelts inside an oiled tarp I used for my tent. I asked him, Are you not going to come? Mavia sat on his bunk, sighing. I was not asked to go. I looked at him sharply. Mavia, do you want to come and hunt a powerful mage that can summon creatures of nightmares and legends? He put on a broad smile. Yes! Traveling with you is always interesting. Oh. He began to pack his things, and I shook my head in disbelief. If I had been given a choice, I most definitely would not be going. We arrived in the courtyard, and Delmar had bundled food for us and a few changes of socks and undergarments. Matteo quipped at seeing the house guards of the Countess. Never got an apology from the Countess for kicking us out of our rooms. Everyone laughed merrily. Delmar smirked at Matteo's comment. Why don't you carry the ration packs for the 4 men Flavius is retrieving? He groaned as it was almost 40 pounds. He did not end up carrying all of it, as Felix, Mavius, and I each took one of the 4 bundles. We didn't have to wait long before Castile was outside with Adrian. Adrian arched an eyebrow at me. Thought you would be riding your horse, Eric. I can do that? I asked, ready to bolt for the stables and saddle Ginger. Too late now, he smirked, and he was clearly joking. As he was clearly joking. Castile added seriously. She would just be used to carry supplies, Eric. Leave her behind. It is safer for her. That ended any argument. We were soon walking down the road northwest along the river. We were going to meet up with Flavius and the others before following Constantine into the wilds to find the elusive summoner. Ooh, okay. Highly exciting. Oh, who's this? I recognize the name somewhat. Wait, okay, wait. Chapter 112. Relia, POV. Relia, I remember, is the elf that we put into our dimensional space. It has to be Relia. She's the elf, Griffin Rider person. And now she has been replaced with a goblin child. Relia walked the promenade in the king's palace, following the mage. After being sent home by her brother from Matcha, she spent 2 days recovering in the rookery. She had been mucking nests and showing the newest class of Griffin riders how to care for their saddles and tack. Right, she got highly demoted because they were like, nope, you're not riding any fucking griffins anymore. Oh, on the space, did the goblin make an appearance yet? No, the goblin is still in the storage. Nothing has happened there. Then the news came of the Tellian ruthlessness. The mage of the Tellian Empire had torn down the city's outer walls with earthquakes. It was completely unexpected and devastating. She had been worried her brother had perished in the attack, but he had managed to retreat with remnants of the army. She had not seen him in the last 3 weeks, but at least she knew he was okay. She heard he was preparing the defenses in the city of Tenal, near the border, as the Tellians had already marched on Guiracas. Her anger at the news had made her put in a request for a new griffin, but she was denied. The master griffin tamer told her she would have to spend the next 2 years cleaning and teaching before he would consider giving her another hatchling to raise. At first she had been angry. The kingdom needed trained griffin riders, and she was trained, but then she was reminded of how she had failed her mount. She wanted to get revenge on the Tellians, as many friends and comrades had been killed. Comrades? Help? She had been abused herself, taken captive by a legionnaire, and forced to attack one of her brother's bodyguards. She had been questioned by a number of mages at the Magus Scholarium, and had her ether resistance tested 5 times. One mage even checked to ensure she was not a doppelganger, as the idea that a legionnaire could force her into a dimensional space seemed too absurd. Maybe she could fight as a soldier or ranger if it could not be in disguise. She had all the qualifications to be a ranger, and many griffin riders came from the rangers' ranks. She went to the master tamer and asked to be transferred. He looked disappointed, but granted her request the next day. She was assigned to the 14th Ranger Squad. She was frustrated to learn the 14th Ranger were assigned to the Magus. Maybe it is Magus. Scholarium. The Magus, I will say Magus. The Magus Scholarium was in the capital. It was a free magic school for anyone who had the potential to be a mage. Their sprawling campus outside the capital included 50,000 acres of woodland. The 14th Rangers patrolled this area. She later learned her brother had placed her there to protect her. This infuriated her, but she would do her duty and look for a chance to fight the Tellians again. Relia's new commander was Jalon Leoira. Jalon Leoira. He was an ancient-looking human who was deceptively strong and quick. He must have been taking essences to maintain his youthful physique. Today, she was following Jalon to meet the High Mage Traeliorn Kelleran. Oh, that's the one! That's the bitch. We're killing him. She watched the young mage students wandering the campus, absorbed in their little world. Or no, because it wasn't him, because he was a young elf, whatever. Children, she mused, not realizing a battle was happening just a few hundred miles to the west. They climbed one of the tallest towers in the Mage's Scholarium. The circular stairs wrapped the outer wall with windows every 20 steps, she noted. The view rolled from the campus to the woods she presided over. They reached one of the upper floors, and the door was open. "Enter!" a commanding voice sounded. She followed Jalon inside. She was here to take notes and run messages if needed, not to participate. Relia had never met the High Mage Traeliorn. Do we have to say his name every time? Traeliorn Kelleran before, but she could feel the power oozing off him, just seeing the powerful elf. He took up her concentration, and she missed the ice drake curled in the corner of the room. Ooh. The white-scaled creature yawned, and its predatory fangs had her step back. Traeliorn laughed. "Girl, Kilma is about as dangerous as a puppy. I don't think she has hunted a day in her life." The drake belched a cold mist toward the mage in a challenge. "Go stretch your wings, Kilma. Your disrespect towards me is embarrassing me in front of my guests." The glistening white-scaled drake stood, unwinding its body. Kilma was much larger than she had guessed. The drake slowly stretched and then dove out a nearby window. Traeliorn shook his head. "Failed in taming that one, but she does make a good conversationalist." Invade city, then seek revenge for the comrades you lost during the battle. You were attacking the army, what do you mean? Right? Just pissed. Fuck. It didn't go as I want. Now I'm pissed about it. Relia couldn't help but voice her disbelief. "You can talk to drakes." Jalon gave her a harsh look for breaking protocol in front of the High Mage. The High Mage laughed. "No, but that is the point. I've had a dozen wives in my life, okay?" And all we did was get into arguments. Kilma doesn't talk back, so I never lose the argument. Dude, it's Eric! Wasn't that what Eric said? Something like that yesterday about losing arguments with his previous girlfriends, and that he was like, he would always say like, "Okay, everything is fine. Like, you're correct," just so that they would win. So he was like, "Oh, it's over." Oh. Jalon shook his head. "He has been married thrice, Relia. You will find our High Mage prone to exaggerate everything. Now, Traeliorn, why did you request my presence? Do you need more ingredients for your summons?" "My apprentice just sent a communication. His 2 Hellhound guards have been killed," the High Mage said seriously. "Oh, so both of them died then." "Is Vairil injured?" the old ranger asked, concerned. "Do you need us to retrieve him?" "No, it was just a single scout. But now he has no protections while he sets up the next summons. I would like to portal one of your rangers to protect him for the next month," Traeliorn requested. The old human huffed angrily. "The council does not agree with your methods, old friend. Putting your apprentice out in the Empire to summon an unleashed beast is a danger to him and innocent people." The air suddenly crackled with blue sparks. Trailorn's power emanated, and he screamed at the old ranger. Oh, okay. They killed my grandson in Matcha. I would kill every citizen of the Empire if I could. Okay, this guy has some issues. The old ranger did not back down. Oi. And this guy also has a death wish. How many times are you and your apprentice going to open gates to elemental planes and other dangerous lands? One of these times, the creature you summon will be too strong for you to control. You cannot hide your fatigue from me, old man. Our days of saving the world are over. We are retired. Your grandson made his own choices. Wow. Why is this like fucking Gandalf and, what is he called? Not Sauron, but, you know. Yes, it is Saruman. Was he named Saruman before? Or, anyway, it's like them. He's like, no! Yes, Gandalf. Relia suddenly wished she could be anywhere but here. The mage could snuff out the ranger with a thought. The air slowly cleared, and they both calmed down. Relia stepped forward unexpectedly. I will go. Herregud. Both sets of wizened eyes turned to her. Relia stood tall. Dude, this is Frodo! I will do it. This was a chance for her to get back into the fight. Jalen said, Your brother sent you to my care, Relia. I will not send you to your death in the Italian Empire. Relia smirked as she was accustomed to using people's words against them. You just said the High Mage's grandson made his own choice. I want to make my own choice. Wow. I like this one, Jalen, the High Mage smiled, his blue eyes twinkling in victory. Jalen threw up his arms in disgust. He pointed at Relia. Burn her face into your mind. When word comes that she is dead, know it was just as good as you doing the deed yourself. I am prepared to accept that. Leave her here and I will help her prepare for her duty, the High Mage said gravely. Relia felt she was slightly over her head. The High Mage addressed her after Jalen left angrily. You know he is right. I have sent more young men and women to their deaths than I can count to fight the Italians. Every one of them is burned up here. He tapped his temple. I am willing. Feel no guilt, High Mage, Relia reaffirmed. Your primary task will be to watch Varil while he is sleeping. He sighed. Let me see if I can find a few things in this mess to help you in your task. The old elf slowly went through his extremely disorganized closets. She was given a thermal stone fire starter, a wand of etheric missiles, 3 dungeon-grade healing potions, and a ring of sustenance. A fortune in artifice gear to help elevate the summoner's guild that he was sending her into severe danger. Later that evening, she was waiting on Trailorn, who was gathering materials to summon a wyvern near the Italian capital. An old human woman came into the office unannounced. She immediately started yelling at the High Mage. You old geezer! She walked up to him. You are leaving again to summon one of your beasts. My third wife, the High Mage told Relia with a small smile. You are in for a show. Wow. Yeah, fuck him. You idiot, the gray-haired woman continued. Just let it be. Why don't you help the rest of the High Council figure out what in the Dragon's Fire the Italians are up to south of Matcha? I don't care, he rebuffed. If the Emperor made an appearance there, then I might have a chance to snuff him out. Until then, I will show his people how inept he is at keeping them safe. If you confronted the Emperor, he would banish your soul to the void, the woman barked at him. She waved a finger at him angrily. She stormed out angrily after some more back and forth screaming. Relia wished she could have faded into the wall during the screaming session. The white drake returned during the argument and just ignored the 2 mages as it curled back into a ball and went to sleep. This seemed commonplace for it. Relia slept in a room below, and the next morning the High Mage opened a portal in his office. Relia's mouth hung open in disbelief. How? It usually took a few mages together to open a portal. The High Mage winked. Lots of practice. Also, my apprentice has an anchor I can lash the portal to. Shall we? He gestured to the portal. Relia picked up the heavy pack of food and gear and entered first. She appeared inside a cave with a young elf focused on a metal plate. The apprentice, Beryl, was contributing his own ether to maintain the portal. His golden hair was matted with sweat, and his green eyes focused. Traeliorn walked through next, just in his mage robes. He turned and faced the portal and asked, "Well, are you coming, or do I have to walk?" He sounded irritated, but the ice drake eventually emerged, and the portal snapped shut. The fucking drake. I love him. It's so cute. Oh. Relia stared at Beryl as he panted from the effort of holding the portal. Traeliorn seemed unconcerned as he looked around and nodded. "Beryl, have you moved a good distance from where your pets were killed?" "Yes, master. I am 20 miles from where I was discovered," he answered. "Good. This is Relia. She is a trained ranger and will be your protector." Wait. Is she? Maybe ranger is the same as griffin rider. I thought she was just... Okay, maybe she's a trained ranger. Relia waved at the apprentice. He was kind of cute, and his deep green eyes were mesmerizing. He did not seem as impressed with her. Traeliorn continued. "I'm heading north to summon another wyvern. I want you to summon some hill giants and send them." He considered for a moment. "Send them in the direction of the scout that killed your hounds." The apprentice nodded happily. "How many hill giants?" he asked as the high mage was mounting the ice drake. "Oh, it's that big. I thought it was smaller than that, but okay." "Shit, you can ride on it." "2. You cannot handle any more than 2. He advised and then was in the air. Relia marveled that he did not need a saddle to ride the drake. Beryl looked her over and sighed. Disappointed his protector was a young female elf. Relia read his eyes. "I am a skilled ranger and used to be a griffin rider." He cocked an eyebrow and slowly nodded appreciatively. "Good. Come. We have a few miles to walk, and I will be setting up a summoning circle while you watch my back." The pair started walking, and Relia started up a conversation with the young mage. It was unsurprising that they were almost the same age. Relia thought this was going to be a good assignment. She would help get revenge on the Italians, and maybe she would start a new relationship. Wow, she was immediately like, okay, fuck yeah. Him I will take. When the immediate reaction is like, he's not impressed with me. I want him even more now. Oh my god, his green eyes, he's so cute. His blonde hair. Oh. And she's like, oh. and he is like, what the fuck is this shit? I don't want to do this. Interesting. Chapter 113. Sebastian's entrance. Oh, here we go. Eric, do you have my collector? No. The march on the road was mostly orderly. We kept 3 men abreast, spaced 10 feet apart, with Castile, Adrian, and Delmar leading. We passed refugees headed to Sobrol every few hours. The refugees found the most interesting thing about our company was Mavieth. I had Mavieth on my left and Brutus on my right, so it felt like every refugee was also staring at me. It felt like a long time since I had been part of the company, having worked in small groups and foraging for the alchemist. The voices of everyone around me blended into a comforting background noise. I noticed we had no scouts out as Constantine was walking next to Firth, 2 rows ahead. Mavieth was walking and working on sewing in the white leather lining to the manticore pouch. I did not have the heart to tell him I did not need it, given that I had a dimensional space. Right. Oh, I never even thought of that. Oh, no. Oh, but it's cute. It's more than just storage. It's cute. It's a gift. Oh. We had marched about a dozen miles when we noted 5 legionnaires sitting on the road ahead. It was Flavius and the men he had been tasked with retrieving. Pascal, Remus, Cyrus, and Soren. Remus was the only legionnaire from Mage Gregor's company who had survived Matcha. He kept to himself, and I could not imagine how he felt losing his mage and everyone in his company. He was also easy to identify when we had our helms off, as he was the only ginger in the company. The 5 men were sitting on large blocks of rough-cut white marble stacked on the side of the road, and I could see a well-worn path heading into the woods. It looked like these were the province markers the men had been burying in the ground for weeks. 2 buried markers on either side of the road reinforced my guess. This must be where they started the project and delivered cut marble from the quarry. I did not see the point of all this effort to place these markers, but I guess the rich people in every world like to remind people what was theirs. We paused for a snack, and Blaze sat with Mavieth, Brutus, and me. So, those are the stones you have been burying in the ground. They look heavy. I patted the marble I was sitting on. Each marble block was roughly 1 foot square and 3 feet in length. Those blocks weigh as much as 4 men. You got to lace about and walk in the woods while we did all the real work, Eric, Blaze said with a half smile. Mavieth, perhaps defending me a little, informed him. Eric has been fighting manticores, edens, and goblins. How many creatures have you killed since arriving, Brutus? Wow! But it was Blaze who said that, but anyway, Brutus laughed. No need to take things so literally, Goliath. I was joking. Wow, now I'm confused. Who said it, Blaze or Brutus? Help? Oh, everyone in the company knows if there is danger on the horizon, it is best to keep your distance from Eric, as it will surely find him first. Mavieth nodded slowly. Do not worry, Eric. If danger finds you, I will stand at your side to face it. Brutus laughed. You may not quite get humor, Mavieth, but at least you are good at checkers. Mavieth reached for his pack. I brought the game board. Do you want to play? We all laughed, and after Brutus lost the game of checkers, Castile had us headed into the woods. I love that they actually played. That's so cute. Flavius and Constantine took off ahead of us, and I walked to Adrian and asked, should Mavieth and I be scouting as well? Adrian looked to Castile, who gave a sharp nod. No. With Flavius back, you do not need to. But with your new spell form, we would like to keep you close to Castile. I typically protect her right side and Delmar her left. We want you to protect her rear. Don't mind if I do. I nodded in understanding. So, should I be marching with you then, at the front? Adrian confirmed. When the sense of danger is in the air, yes. Mavieth was behind me and asked in his baritone. What do you want me to do? I told Eric I would stand with him. And I can't go back on my word right after I said it. Delmar turned his head to look at us as we walked next to Castile. You can cover him with that monstrous bow of yours. Mavieth nodded, happy at the answer, and continued to focus on finishing the pouch. For having such large hands, he was doing such fine detail work in the stitching. The path was well trodden, as they had carted dozens of stones into the woods. The men behind him were joking about the effort and how the donkey cart they used was constantly getting stuck. The stones were buried with only about 12 inches showing. The white marble tops made a clear dotted line in the landscape. As we walked deeper, Flavius and Constantine rotated back to the company. Being closer to Castile, I could overhear their reports. They mostly reported what type of tracks they found. So far, nothing dangerous. As evening settled, we made camp in a clearing, and 2 long strips of white tarp were staked into the ground, making an X. Castile watched them work and informed me. That is for Master Mage Sebastian. He is not due for a few days, but we will put it out when we stop to rest at camp. Stop to rest and camp. It was a light ether signature to it, so he can find it easily when he overflies it. How will we fight alongside drakes? I asked as I unpacked my bedroll and tarp. We won't. They will be in the air, covering us and scouting. High Mage Cinna will join us in the ground for the real fight, Castile relayed taciturnly. I hesitated momentarily before asking, do I have anything to worry about? Castile looked at me. Not from Cinna. She, like me, was a plebeian before attending the mage college. She completed her service quite some time ago. I think she has a manor in a coastal town somewhere. And from Sebastian? I pressed. So I just want to say that I was right on both those things, though I thought they were different people. I didn't think the fire person was at the coastal town, but then I was correct. Castile looked into the woods where Flavius was circling the camp in the opposite direction of Constantine. He is unpredictable. Knowing his temper, I am surprised Flavius returned to us. Keep your distance from him. I will shield you if I can. I nodded and thanked Castile before setting up my tarp tent. Mavieth had a tarp but chose to sleep under the stars since the buggy season had passed. After dinner, I lost a game of checkers to Maviet and I went to sleep. I was asleep for maybe 4 hours before someone was kicking my boot. I was instantly awake and putting on my helm. Felix smirked. All is fine, Eric. Your turn for watch. I groaned as I had forgotten that I would be part of the night watch rotation since I was no longer scouting. I was paired with Pavel, and we took the positions and huddled in our cloaks to keep the body heat trapped inside. It was cold enough tonight to see our breath form a cloud on exhaling. Pavel had a Legion cloak, and I had my black Manticore cloak. It did a much better job retaining warmth. I would roll it up and send it to my dimensional space after the watch to minimize wear and tear. Pavel was not much of a conversationalist. He was also struggling to stay awake. The only excitement all night was a normal owl swooping down and catching a rodent of some type. I slept another 5 hours and was up before dawn and packing. Larkin fed the company, and we continued our trek, following Constantine toward the last place he had seen the elven summoner. During our afternoon break, Mavieth proudly presented the Manticore sack to me. He had dyed it black to match my cloak. It was large enough for me to squeeze both hands inside, or maybe it's single hand. It looked exceptional, except I knew where it had come from. Right. Mavieth excitedly explained. I use the ice drake hide for its natural chilling properties. It can help herbs you gather potent for much longer. The Manticore leather should be able to take a pounding, but still last you a lifetime. I have seen warriors in my village pass one down for generations. Oh. It is fantastic, supple, and smooth, Mavieth. It feels weird to say that a ball sack is smooth like that, but okay. Your effort and care in making it will cause me to treasure it always. I studied it for a moment longer under his watchful eye, and then sent it to my dimensional space. I explained. This way, it will not get ruined while I am fighting. The second night in the woods, Constantine had us be more cautious. He estimated we were about 15 miles from where he found the summoner. Castile ordered the camp to be made and informed everyone that we would wait here until Master Mage Sebastian and High Mage Cinna arrived, rather than risk an engagement without their support. Mavieth noted the weasel den was probably in this area. Delmar barked with a smile at the news. Since we have a few hours of daylight and do not know how long we will be here, I want the trench line dug there and there, he pointed. We were on a small hill clear of trees, so at least the ground would be free of roots. We spent 6 hours digging 2 defense trenches at right angles and staking them. We were also given assigned sleeping areas by Delmar. It almost felt like he was trying to get more rigid with the camp to show off to the 2 arriving mages. The regular army would construct elaborate camps every night when they marched. Small mage companies, not so much. Everyone except me was used to digging from the last few weeks. Digging blisters were different from weapon blisters on the hands, and I voiced a vocal dissent to the work. Of course, I would heal them just enough tonight so they would not bother me. Mavieth joined us, but was relegated to rolling large rocks out of the ditch for us. The company cleaned up in a stream, and I was fortunate to get the first watch this evening. It was early in the night when the familiar 2 bangs of warning came. The camp was roused, and Firth, who had been on the other side, informed Delmar that he had spotted one of the giant weasels. Beast was bigger than a horse and moved just as fast, Firth told me, awakened men and prepared company. Firth told the awakened men and prepared company. It's bigger than a fucking horse. That's insane. Because I remember when there were giant weasels when we were with Mavieth, I think, or if it was Constantine, in the woods anyway. But I thought they were just big, but not bigger than a horse. Everyone looked to Castile. She closed her eyes and sent out her all-seeing eye. I knew she could use it to see in the dark, and so we waited on her. A few moments later, she spoke. 2 giant weasels are moving away from our camp. Mavieth said, They are smart creatures and would not attack our camp with so many men. I just suggest no one wanders in the woods alone at night to relieve themselves. Adrian nodded, thanking Mavieth. We will double the guard. Some men groaned as going from 6 to 12 meant most of us would get half as much sleep. Clouds rolled in, covering the moon and making it extremely dark for the remainder of the night, and light stones were placed out in the woods. It was a relief when the morning came. Delmar had us finishing the defensive square after breakfast, and no one complained. We now had a square camp on top of a hill about 40 feet to a side. 40 feet to a side. The ditch was just 3 feet deep, but had a stake every foot from a lot of work by the men. As we were eating lunch prepared by Larkin, a chunky potato and salted beef soup, Blaze pointed to the skies. Drake! I looked up and saw the silhouette. I wonder if it's the one we just saw, the blue ice drake, or if it's actually the one that's on Eric's side. The elf one or not. I looked up and saw the silhouette. I had no idea how he saw something so small. Then I spotted 2 others trailing the first. Oh, so it's a nice one then. They passed our camp, and I thought they missed a large white X at our center, but they soon started circling above our camp. And not too much emphasize, like, when I say nice, I mean that they also want to kill the people that we want to kill. They're not nice. But they soon started circling above our camp. My heart was racing at the possibility of confronting Master Mage Sebastian and him accusing me of having his brother's collector. I caught Flavius sneaking glances at me, which did not help my comfort level. The drake circled for an hour, slowly descending from their heights. Castile was standing next to me and noted. He is scouting around our camp, but also I think he's drawing it out to make us wait. Who is on the other 2 drakes? I inquired. 2 of his legionnaires, probably drake tamers from his estate. The Emperor rarely has Sebastian help with missions. He contributes a lot by raising the fire drakes for the Dragon Legion, Castile stated. Castile looked up and suddenly smirked. If he does not land soon, I think Cinna is going to throw him off. I looked and could see the largest drake, which had 1 person riding pillion. I guess Castile was using her all-seeing eye to spy on them. The smaller drakes landed at the bottom of our little hill. The largest drake landed in our midst. The powerful wings blew tarp tents and sleeping rolls everywhere. I could tell that Master Mage Sebastian had intended the dramatic effect. He slid out of his saddle to the ground, smiling smugly. His grand entrance made, he addressed Castile imperiously. Mage Castile, it seems it has become a habit of mine to come and rescue you. Oh, shut the fuck up. The woman behind him dismounted less gracefully, and her legs were a little weak from the ride. The woman did not look like a wizened old mage. Her auburn hair was braided into a long ponytail. Her light brown eyes were lively. She appeared middle-aged, maybe in her late 30s, and was one of the tallest women I had seen in my time, nearly matching my 6'1" frame. She ignored Sebastian and came to Castile and gave her a hug to Sebastian's consternation. Castile, my child, it has been ages. You have never visited my estate. Master Mage Sebastian frowned at being ignored. But if my understanding was correct, then she outranked him as a high mage. His drake bristled, shaking itself out and mimicking its master's dissatisfaction. Castile broke the hug. My company was never sent on assignments near a coastal town, Baroness. If she was a Baroness, then she was also a first citizen, but I thought Castile said she grew up poor. Cinna turned to Sebastian. You and your men should finish that patrol I interrupted by insisting your land. You said scouting the entire region before you landed was important. There was some terseness in her words. Sebastian ground his teeth. Yes, High Mage. Castile and Cinna moved off to talk privately, walking outside our fortification. I slowly moved back from the giant flying lizard, now that Castile was no longer at my side. Dragons and I did not mix. Sebastian led his drake through our barricades, destroying some of it, and down to the stream to let the drake drink before heading into the sky with his 2 men. A handful of men were at the water, Flavius among them. I was sure I noticed him and Flavius make eye contact for more than a moment while the drake satiated its thirst. My paranoid self was sure it would not be long before Sebastian took a detour to question me about his brother's death. I watched the 3 drakes getting water while Sebastian conferred with his 2 legionnaire riders. I just had a bad feeling about this whole situation. Adrian called to me. Eric, Castile and the High Mage wish for you to join the conversation. Oh. I looked to see them at the bottom of the hill opposite the stream. I wondered what this was going to be about. Yeah? Chapter 114. Cinna, the High Mage of Fire. I had been ordered to talk with Castile and the High Mage, who seemed familiar with each other. I walked down the hill from our camp, stepping between the stakes. Castile was a head shorter than the auburn-haired High Mage. They both turned and faced me in unison. Castile introduced the mage. This is High Mage Cinna, Mistress of Fire, Baroness of Pistachios, a small village on the northern coast. Cinna looked me up and down and extended her hand. We formally shook wrists, and the formality confused me. She asked, "This is him? He's a big boy but looks young, and inexperienced. If he's going to watch my back, is he any good?" Castile smirked. As good as Delmar or Adrian. He has a decent air shield spell form as well as a dimensional space. The High Mage arched her eyebrow, reassessing her initial appraisal of me. Castile addressed me. "While Cinna is with us, you will be her personal guard." Oi. My surprised look had her explain further. High Mage Cinna outranks Sebastian, so as long as you are in her service, he cannot command or question you. Ooh! Hell yeah! I was confused but understood this was a way to protect me. Yeah, but how did she tell Cinna about this? Did she just tell her everything? Okay, so anyway, this Eric guy, right? Let me tell you everything. Did that mean Castile trusted Cinna? I tried to sound happy at the assignment and asked the High Mage, "Should I call you Mistress, Baroness, or High Mage?" Cinna laughed, amused with a musical voice. "Just Cinna is fine. Legionnaire Eric. I no longer teach at the Mage College or command a Legionnaire company. My first citizen status is only so the Emperor could continue to call on my skills when needed." "So that is why you're here. The Emperor called on you," I asked, and realized perhaps I'd overstepped. Cinna pursed her lips in anger, and I got worried. "I volunteered," she said tersely. The small fishing community where my estate is located was inundated with giant waves. 24 of my people were killed, and most of the fishing boats were destroyed. I am here to get some revenge on the elven summoner who summoned the water elemental that caused the disaster. Everyone is here for revenge. It's crazy. Wait, Eric is only 6'1"? I thought he was taller. I don't know how much 6'1" is. Let me look that up. I actually don't know how tall Eric is. He is 185. Yeah, 185.4. But that's not. But the thing is that it's not that he is huge. Like he's huge in their standards because everyone here is short. He said like, "Oh, everyone here is pretty short," in quotations. But I mean, 185 is still tall. But I don't know how. Like maybe to him, like if everyone would say, like, if the standard there is like, if you're tall there, you would be like 170 or like 160. Then like 15 centimeters above that is fucking tall. Like, so he still stands out. He stands out. But yeah, okay. Her eyes took on a blue glow of ether tinged with red, and I could feel her ether stirring violently in her core. This little display showed me why she was considered a high mage. The flare of volatile power disappeared as quickly as it had come. Castile nodded to me and left me with Cinna. "What do you need me to do for you, Cinna?" I asked with as much respect as I could wave into the words. It was definitely not because I sensed her oppressive power a few moments ago. "We must wait for Sebastian to give us a marching direction. Show me to your tent until then." Oh, okay. Okay. She waved her hand up the hill at our square fortification. Bro. I led her up the hill and showed her my tarp tent in the camp. It was very simple, with thick poles cut from branches forming 3 A-frames at the ends and middle. The tarp was staked over the frames. One end was open, and the other was closed. My weasel pelt was laid out on top of my Legion-issued bedroll. She assessed the space, and I was worried she was either going to be sharing it with me or kicking me out. It would be a tight fit for 2 people, but doable. He's like, I mean, it's doable. What the hell? It has been a few years since I camped on the march. You can set up my tent next to yours, Cinna informed me, and before I could ask where her tent was, a large backpack hit the ground with a thud. My mind raced, and I put it together quickly. You have a dimensional space. Cinna smelled. She smelled. Cinna smiled. Not a spell form like you, Eric. She tapped a ring on her finger. A dungeon artifact storage ring. Works the same way as your spell form, and it is twice the size of yours. Please, she said with a mischievous smirk. Mavieth, who had been watching from a distance, approached. Hi, mage. Can I interest you in a game of checkers while Eric sets up your tent? Mavieth, wouldn't you rather help me set this up? I indicated the large, tightly wrapped tent. Oh, she would love some checkers. No, the Goliath is my task. I would rather play checkers with a more challenging opponent. Brutus, Mavieth's usual opponent, huffed from a dozen feet away. Wow. Cinna smiled at our playful interaction, but then sided with the Goliath. Friend Goliath, I would be honored to play a game of checkers with you. Hell yeah. They moved off to some logs and a makeshift stone table in the camp that the others cleared for the High Mage as she approached. The drakes took to the skies from the stream and began their search while Mavieth and Cinna set up the board. Brutus came to my aid and helped me with the tent. It was a large tent, requiring a dozen 8-foot poles to be cut to assemble it. Thankfully, Brutus was familiar with the style. The final assembly gave the High Mage a roughly 8-foot cube tent out of the oiled canvas material. There was a square floor panel as well, but no bedroll. Mavieth and Cinna had a lively conversation during their game nearby, and I was worried that the Goliath might retell my prowess with the manticores. With the tent finished, Cinna approached, nodded in thanks, and entered. She left the flap shut for privacy. Maybe she had more space in her ring and was laying out a luxurious interior. Mavieth sat with me. She's a charming woman. She even won one of our 6 games. Oh wow. Constantine and Flavius had been taking down a large deer for dinner. The best cuts were for the men, while the remainder would go to the drakes. When Lurgan had dinner prepared, Castile brought a portion into Cinna's tent and did not exit before the sun was setting. We were waiting for the return of the drakes. They returned just after sunset, and Sebastian landed his drake again in the middle of the camp. I think he was attempting to blow over Cinna's tent, but Brutus and I had double-staked it. Haha. The men in the camp had done the same to their own tents, expecting the childishness of the Master Mage. I love that they are just so against him. Not one tent was blown away this time, which clearly upset him. Oh, he's such a child. Sebastian entered the tent unannounced, and the conversation was obviously being muted by magic. We all looked at each other, not knowing what to expect. Everyone kept their distance from his drake, which appeared tired and curled into a ball. Lurkin came and gave it a haunch of the deer, and it greedily ate it. The crunching of bones was not something I enjoyed being so close to. It was a good hour before Sebastian emerged unhappy. He gave me a hard look before leading his drake down to the stream, where the other 2 drakes had already been unsaddled and fed. Adrian and Delmar were called into the tent. When they left at dark, Delmar went to bring Castile's things to the tent while Adrian gave orders. The Master Mage did not find any... Wait, Adrian and Delmar. With Cinna and Castile in the tent? Totally just discussing strategies. Right? The Master Mage did not find any sign of the summoner. We will be marching northwest in the morning, following Constantine. The drakes will keep watch from above. Everyone felt better knowing the 3 powerful drakes would be overhead, but I was not so certain. That night there was a commotion in the woods. The loud squealing, hissing, and sounds of combat woke the entire camp. Constantine went down and came back to report. The drakes killed one of the giant weasels. They are feasting on it now. It should quiet down in an hour. Maybe it seemed upset. Waste of a good pelt. Should have skinned it first. The following morning we packed up camp, and I struggled to get Cinna's tent rolled tightly enough to be returned to her dimensional ring. Mavieth and Brutus had to assist me. When we marched, Brutus and I were on either side of Cinna, with Mavieth behind us. After a few hours of Mavieth and Cinna discussing different board games, I asked, "How do you know Castile?" Cinna smiled. "I was a chancellor at the Mage College, finishing my own service to the Empire when Castile started there. Those not of royal blood tend to have a difficult time. I mentored her and helped her acclimate. I am the reason she shows the legion over serving Duke Octavian. Blaze and Willie in front of us couldn't help but turn around in shock at the gossip, but quickly focused forward. Cinna just smiled. Mavieth, unaware of human decorum regarding age, asked, "If a mage is required to serve 20 years and Castilla is almost done with her service, does that make you 60? You do not look it." Mavieth liked to puzzle things out, and this was not something he should have tried. I reflexively stepped away from the mage, and Brutus did likewise on the other side of her. Cinna just laughed her musical laugh. "Mavieth, I am 83. Wow!" I served 26 years as a mage commander and 24 years at the mage college. After 50 years of service, the emperor granted me the writ of primus civis, making me one of the few to be named a first citizen without the blood of the first legion in my veins. Mavieth grunted. "I would not have guessed you for being older than 40. 30, Mavieth," Constantine said, appearing from the woods. "If you are dumb enough to guess a woman's age, always guess 10 years younger than you think. She will not burn you to a crisp if you are wrong." I added my wisdom. "Mavieth, it is better never to guess at all." Cinna laughed. "Maybe, but I have seen enough for 2 lifetimes, and someone asking my age is not going to upset me. Much. And the Emperor does grant favors if you are useful enough to keep around." Constantine walked next to Cinna. "Hi, mage. I was training your bodyguard in the finer arts of scouting. I would hate for his skills to get rusty. Do you mind?" Cinna nodded her consent, but before I took a few steps she added, "Just do not wear him out, hound." "I am no longer a hound, High Mage," Constantine grumbled. It appeared that these two knew each other as well. "What does Cornelius always say? Once a hound, always a hound?" Cinna replied. "That old goat says a lot of things. Sometimes I think he just likes to hear himself speak," Constantine grumbled. "Come on, Eric. I found some interesting tracks that I want to show you." When we got off into the woods, Constantine showed me some bear tracks and old knoll tracks. We worked our way on the right side of the column, while Flavius was on the left. Constantine seemed a little anxious about his quest, and I finally asked him when we stopped to take a break while the company caught up. "You don't appear to be your normal cheerful self, Constantine. What has got you on edge?" I said, chewing on some jerky. "When you are hunting mages, nothing ever goes as planned. I do feel better with Cinna here. Just hope she does not burn down the woods while we are in them," he said, sipping water. "With a summoner, you never know what type of creature they may have summoned as well. Also," he paused, "there may be more than one summoner. I only saw the young elf, but that does not mean there are not more." I finished the afternoon with Constantine, and we found another hill for the company to make camp on. Delmar wanted trenches dug again, so we stopped with a few hours of daylight. Since I had scouted for half the day, Adrian informed me I was off trench and guard duty tonight. Scouts did travel 2 to 3 times the distance of the rest of the company. I still had to set up Cinna's tent. Maybe it helped this time. We had not staked it yet when Master Mage Sebastian landed in our midst. Oh no. The tent was blown away, and he dismounted smugly. He went to Castilla and Cinna with purpose. The summoner just summoned 2 hill giants 20 or so miles west of your position. If you hurry, you can catch him before he relocates. Adrian approached. Night hike with 2 hill giants in the woods is not advisable. If you're going to fight them, I would want it to be in the light of day. "Not your decision, Legionnaire," Sebastian barked at Adrian. "Not yours either," Cinna said forcibly. Sebastian narrowed his eyes at the woman who was deciding on a plan of action. Cinna finally said, "We will leave at midnight. That will give Castile's men some time to rest and should put our encounter with the giants after sunrise." Sebastian was not happy and growled out, "We will rotate watch during the night on the giants." He was holding in his anger. "The summoner will not be trackable from the air." He mounted his drake and took to the air, blowing the camp into more of a mess. I turned to Mavieth. "Just how many freaking kinds of giants are there?" Right. More giants. Chapter 115. Pig Roast. I had asked my question about the variety of giants to be rhetorical, but maybe it answered me anyways. The Titans come in many varieties. There are the cloud and fog giants of the Dresimere Mountains, Then the corrupted two-headed Edens, but you're familiar with them already. The stone giants are builders, but are nearly extinct as all the great Titan cities have been destroyed. The storm giants ruled all the giants before the civil war ages ago. The hill and mountain giants are cruel warriors and the most populous of the giant kin. They are both solitary and live in tribes. Maviot counted on his hands, trying to remember. Ah, yes, the frost giants live in the harsh cold north, but they keep to themselves. They do not like outsiders. You forgot the fire giants, Cinna said, having overheard our conversation. The fire giants love battle more than anything and are always looking for a reason to engage. Why haven't the giants taken over the world? Benito entered the conversation as he was untangling the mess from the drake. Cinna shrugged. I have not studied the histories, but I think the Titans once ruled all of Desia. Maviot nodded. They did. The storm giants were similar to your first citizens. They governed all the giant races. Goliaths used to be bloodhound to the stone giants and helped them build the world's marvels. Tales are passed down in my tribe of the time where the schism and civil war among the Titans. The giant races fought and destroyed each other all over the land. None of their great cities stand today. Ooh. Maviot looked at Benito. To answer your question, all the Titans are cursed. Not only is conceiving children extremely difficult for most of them, but it takes over 50 years for them to mature. Some of them have over permanent maladies. For instance, the hill giants have the mentality of a child. Benito quipped, I have met some pretty smart 3-year-olds. Oh, Adrian grunted at Benito and didn't comment. Most of the giant races are hunted in Desia as well, Adrian added. Don't bother setting the tents. Just get some rest. This night march is going to be taxing, and there is a fight at the end. We cleaned up the camp from Sebastian's landing and packed our backpacks. Cinna had a small tarp and laid it down a few feet from my bedroll. Cinna had no problem appearing to fall asleep, and I guessed, as her temporary bodyguard, I needed to keep an eye on her while she slept in the open. I set my roll against a stump to use as a reclining chair.
Eric seems to be well liked by older women.
I think so. It seems like just women in general, to be fair. Because Reyna is also younger, and I think the Lorene was also younger. Not that much younger. Reyna is younger though. I don't know by how much. Brutus brought me dinner. Salted fish that had been boiled into a vegetable soup. Sometimes you have to eat things that are unappetizing to keep your calories up. This was not one of those times. I poured my bowl of soup down a hole in the stump I was sitting on. Yeah, hell yeah, I would have done the same. Hopefully, whatever creature made its home down there would like it more than me. I took out some hard salami and cheese from my dimensional space when it got dark and before the blue moon revealed itself. I ate more than I should have, but doubted there would be a chance to eat again before the battle. I watched our camp be restless all night as it was the eve of battle. When Delmar called for the march to begin, we all moved slowly, not looking forward to facing the hill giants. Mavius had chosen to stay on the other side of High Mage Cinna, which I greatly appreciated. The blue moon had decided to show itself, and the cloudless sky gave the woods an eerie blue light. A single glowstone was carried by the last man, Matteo, in our line. This was so the drakes could find us from above. Progress was slow, and Constantine and Flavius were leading us. I only saw a drake's silhouette on the blue moon once on the march when we passed through a clearing. I felt a lot better knowing we had 3 ferocious beasts overhead. Some men whispered back and forth as we made our way. High Mage Cinna then asked a question I dreaded. Eric, you are from Tsinga. I love their national delicacy, caramel bread. Maybe she's lying. Maybe it's not caramel bread. It is pronounced caramel in my small village. Oh, caramel. It is pronounced caramel in my small village. We only had it on special occasions as there were only a few goats to get milk from, I replied smoothly. I had the name of the village ready if she pressed. Ooh, someone has read up. Oh, so you know how to make it then? After we finish this hunt, I may spend a few days in Sobrol, Cinna said excitedly looking me over. I was not sure if she was being genuine or if she was trying to entrap me. At least there was a recipe in one of the books in the dreamscape. I would like to try it too, Maviot said in his deep voice, overshadowing the whispering. Maviot realized his error, but he could not whisper well. He tried talking softer. I heard it is an amazing dessert. Melt in your mouth. Cinna did not pry into my past again, but tried for my other secrets. Castiel wouldn't tell me if you had any spell forms other than your storage and air shield. When I did not respond, she tried in a motherly tone. I have instructed hundreds of mages at the Mage College. Do you require any assistance? I considered my response and tempered it. No. Castiel has helped with everything that is needed. My other shaping is too terrible to learn to cast spells. A plume of fire in the sky a few miles off appeared. Are they fighting in the sky? Blaze asked, no one in particular. Cinna replied hotly. No, they found the hill giants and are marking them for us. Felix responded from behind me. But that means we won't be able to surprise them. He basically signaled that someone found them. Cinna huffed. I think that is the point. Sebastian's way of showing his displeasure at not making the decisions. Wow, such a fucking little bitch. Come, Eric, we will move to the front. The giants look to be just 2 miles away. I nodded, but decided I did not want to be the bodyguard of a high mage if they were always at the front. We moved forward, and Adrian hissed. Pile your packs here. We're close. The 23 men of the company quickly and quietly dropped their packs. Everyone was on high alert for the sight and sound of the enemy. The blue gloom lightning made it easy to see movement. Lighting made it easy to see movement. But if something remained still, it would blend in. Castiel was at the front and using her spells. Cinna put her hand on Castiel's shoulder and leaned in. Do you see them? Castiel did not respond for a moment. Then she pointed. There, the giants are gathering rocks. They are throwing them at the drakes. A crash far away could be heard as a wayward rock landed. It caused all the creatures to go silent as more rocks returned to the earth. Delmar muttered from my right. They are not going to be able to hit anything. But then again, they are not the smartest of creatures. They will keep trying. Cinna advised. We will use this as a distraction. Archers behind me as I move to engage. Castiel, stay back and be prepared to help if needed. Castiel frowned in the moonlight but nodded. Shield bearers, be prepared to allow the archers to retreat behind you. Spearmen, support the shield men if the giants charge. That was all the order she gave as she walked confidently forward. I was on her heels and Maviet on mine. When I thought first when she said shield bearers, I was like, there's literally only Eric that has air shield. And I was like, all right, normal shields. I was like, there is only air shield. What the fuck? Our armor made rasping sounds as the hard leather rubbed as we walked. But I had practice with Constantine and Mavieth, and I was fairly silent. Constantine appeared from behind a tree. Hi, mage. There are just 2 of them that we can tell. Both are adult males. Before they were disturbed by the drakes, they were eating a bear carcass. Cinna asked patiently, What are they doing now? Throwing rocks the size of a man's head into the sky, Constantine replied, and I looked up reflexively. Over our heads we had a thinning fall canopy of leaves, but the sky was still obscured. A flash through the leaves told me Sebastian was taunting the hill giants. Any signs of the summoner? Cinna inquired. None, was all Constantine said. Lead me to them then. We can kill the hill giants and see if we can find the trail of the summoner. Cinna determined our course of action. You make it sound so easy, I muttered. Constantine tittered at me. Oh, Eric, you are about to see a light show. You will see why they call her a high mage. We followed Constantine down a rocky stream bed that gave us some cover. We had timed our march fairly well, and the coming sun was teasing itself, graying the sky. I could see the 3 drakes high in the air circling. A rock was being tossed in their direction every few moments. The hill giants could barely reach them with 100-pound spears. At least they were distracting the giants from our approach. Cinna stood and marched up onto the small hill. I had not been prepared for her boldness, but I stayed by her side. The archers were already formed, 7 men ready with their bows. Constantine and Flavius had moved into their ranks, 6 men with body shields behind them. When I cleared my line of sight, I was disturbed to see the 16-foot hill giants. They were on an exposed rocky hillside for easy access to their ammunition. They looked overweight and childlike as they bent over and dug in the rocky ground for a fist-sized rock to throw. They're kind of cute. One grabbed a smaller rock by mistake and flung it in disgust at the drakes. Being smaller, it was flung further and faster. By some miracle, the stone connected with the wing of a drake. A hissing scream of pain as the drake started to spiral to the ground. Unfortunately, it was not Sebastian's, as the largest drake remained aloft. Unfortunately, it was not Sebastian. Fan. The giants had not even noticed us as they raced to the falling drake. I felt the ground tremble as they ran. Cinna cursed. Hades, take him! They are rushing out of my range, and that rider is as good as dead if they reach him. She turned. Form the archers on the hill over there. I will see if I can draw them back to us. She ignored the men and started casting small dart-sized flames at the backs of the running giants. The darts flashed across the vast distance to the target, homing in and connecting. Dozens of fire darts sprayed at the giants. It seemed to be causing minor burning marks on their backs. That was the unusual thing. These giants were wearing some semblance of clothes. They looked ragged, but they were wearing some heavy cloth or hide. One of the giants swatted his back like he was swatting a mosquito. He howled, realizing his back was on fire. Cinna was steadily advancing on the giants, closing the distance while the archers got to higher ground. Both giants stopped and helped each other put out the flames. Cinna ordered, "Arrows!" She stopped her own assault. I stood to her right and Maviot towered behind us. The twang of his own bow was heard behind me. The giants were a good 300 feet away as our 7 archers fired a steady stream. Half the arrows connected with the behemoths. The giants helped each other with the flames, ignoring the arrows momentarily. They soon realized they were being attacked. These giants seemed oblivious to the world and could only focus on one task at a time. Maviot had said their mental capacity was limited. I thought they would charge our position, but they just bent over and started hurling rocks at our archers. Curses! Cinna spat. She started moving forward to get them in range of her magic. I moved with her, ready to use my air shield. Before we got in range, a rock hit Quentin in the torso. Quentin, long time no see. His body was torn apart. Take cover! Well... Bye, Quentin. Cinna screamed as a weave of fire formed between her hands. I was not sure if she was talking to me or the archers. I remained at her side and was fascinated as the head of a fiery snake formed and snaked into the sky. The snake quickly grew in size, and the giants were fascinated as it twisted in the air, growing larger and larger, being fed by Cinna's ether. This is what truly powerful magic was. I could feel its heat and even being 50 feet away from the massive fire snake. Snake. Cool, by the way. The snake twisted in the air and dove at one of the giants, opening its flaming maw. The giant held up his hands in protection, but nothing could stop the magic as the snake swallowed him and slammed into the ground. A pillar of flame erupted as the giant was burned alive. His fatty body melted, and the fat fueled the flames more. He howled only for a moment as the flame penetrated his lungs and burned them as well. Wow. The other giant stumbled away but knew where the giant snake had come from. He slung a rock at Cinna. I was prepared and had an angled air shield in front of her. The rock deflected into the sky, destroying the shield, but saving her life. Thank you, was all Cinna said as she weaved her next spell between her hands. A large flaming ball appeared over her head and sped toward the giant just 100 feet away. The ball struck him and exploded. A blast of heat hit me, drying my eyes and throat and bringing the smell of burning pork to my nostrils. The explosion knocked the massive hill giant down, and his clothes were burned to his flesh. He staggered to his feet, howling in pain, and he was now clearly blinded, with his corneas burned out. Archers! Cinna called. Constantine was the first to start firing, followed by Maviot and the others. The giant ran blindly forward, trying to escape. The arrows had trouble penetrating his thick clothing and fatty tissue. He really wants to hammer in that these are some fat fucking giants. He says it every time he can. So extremely fat shaming these giants. It's very funny. He stumbled, because he's fat, fell and stood again, trying to figure a direction away from the attacks. My god. The archers began targeting its head, and it used its burned hands to protect its face. The problem was the archers were close, and not many were missing. The behemoth howled in pain and frustration. It almost made you feel sorry for it. Cinna, drenched in sweat from her powerful castings, formed one more spell in her hand. A much smaller version of the snake raced away from her and consumed the head of the hill giant, forcing itself into its mouth and ending its suffering in its horrid cries. I looked on in horror as it struggled to breathe. Do not feel sorry for it, Cinna stated, seeing my face. Those giants eat humans, preferably raw and still alive. The body churned only for a brief moment before stilling. Cinna turned to me, appreciative but a little smug. Thank you for the shield. I had a defense ready for the rock, but I appreciate the thought. Wow. The company joined us in the open field. Quentin had been killed, and his body was brought down, his entire right ribcage missing. Quentin had been one of Durandus's men. That meant he had been a Legion volunteer and not conscripted. He had been on the road guarding our gear when we attacked the storm giant. I do not know how well he adapted to our less structured company, but it was sad to see another comrade fall. Sin and Castile moved off to talk, while some men went to receive our packs. Some men buried Quentin, gave him a brief ceremony, and then worked to start preparing camp. I looked at the charred corpses and wondered if they would yield an essence. Immediately. I didn't have time to think more of it, as Sebastian's large drake landed on the first body. Wow! And took a massive bite out of it, like he was enjoying a pig roast. It was like he was claiming it as his kill. Yeah. The giants. I was like, I forgot that they buried. I was like, did it eat Quentin? I was completely lost in my mind. I was completely lost in the thought of Quentin still dying. And I was like, they did a ceremony at least. And then he just kept reading. And then I was like, Sylvester's large drake landed on the first body. I was like, what? It landed on Quentin and then it ate it? But they're talking about the giants. Oops. Then Sebastian took out a collector and placed it on the body, activating it. It was a large collector, similar to the shield-sized one Castile used to own. An essence formed, but I could not distinguish it from this distance. I was a little angry that Sin and Castile were allowing this. He let his drake feed and collect an essence from the second hill giant. He then walked to Cinna and unhappily handed her both essences. That was a relief. They exchanged some heated words, and Sebastian walked into the woods to find his downed drake and rider. I know it would be so brutal. That's why I was so surprised. I was like, what the fuck is he doing? I know Sebastian is an ass, but holy. But, sorry. I was wrong. Belmar turned and announced to the company. We made camp here till midday. After the midday meal, we marched in search of the summoner. Constantine, Flavius, and Eric, go search for signs. Constantine smiled at me. Come, Eric. Let's go work on your tracking skills. Damn it. Voluntold again. Always the volunteered one. Wow, we did get dragons. And Cinna. I like Cinna. Crazy that she's 80. I wonder what's gonna happen when Relia sees Eric. I mean, that has to happen, of course. But because the thing is that she knows that he took her into his dimensional space. But no one other than Castile, as far as we know, knows that Eric has that big of a space. So that will pretty much give it away. If they believe her, that is. Or if Eric doesn't do some actually kill her this time. But I don't think she's gonna die. She's been in here too much. But then again, I don't know. But I'm really interested to see how that meeting goes. What's gonna happen to Relia and Eric. We will see next time. She's returning to the space. Here, you have a goblin child that you can take care of. He's making a family. Relia, she has Relia as his wife, and then and now and a goblin child. Oh my god, they're playing family. Cute, Eric, very cute. insane.